territory into a place called Lubuku, which means friendship. Their greeting became Moyo. Moyo meant two things at once, hemp and life. One word for both, because to them there was no difference. By the time Europeans started colonizing the Americas, cannabis had already been a backbone crop in Europe for centuries. Ships were running on it. It was used to make rope, rigging, and sails. The entire age of exploration was partially held together by hemp fiber, which is the fibrous stalk of the cannabis plant. So when settlers arrived in the New World, bringing hemp cultivation with them wasn't a cultural statement. It was just practical, like bringing wheat. It spread through the colonies fast, but there was a problem. Tobacco was more profitable, and farmers kept choosing it over hemp. The government kept asking them to plant it, but nobody wanted to grow something that paid less. The Virginia Assembly eventually stopped asking nicely and passed a law making it mandatory. Farmers were legally required to grow it. Not encouraged, it was required. That's how essential it was. For the next 2 centuries, cannabis was just part of American life. But everything changed when in 1930, a man named Harry Anslinger became head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. He held the job for 32 years. Anslinger tied cannabis to Black Americans, Mexicans, and Filipinos, said it made minorities forget their place. This guy also had a problem with jazz music, claiming their music was satanic, and went after the people who played it. He personally targeted Billie Holiday, not for drugs, but for singing Strange Fruit, a protest song about lynching that made powerful people uncomfortable. He stopped calling it cannabis and started calling it marijuana because the word sounded foreign, and scaring people was the whole point. He kept a folder of made-up police reports called the Gore Files, linking weed to violence and insanity. He asked dozens of doctors what they thought. Most said cannabis wasn't dangerous. He ignored all of them and went with the one who agreed. In 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act passed. In 1970, Nixon put it on Schedule 1, the same category as heroin. A plant that humans had been growing since before they learned to write was now, legally, one of the most dangerous substances on Earth. Now listen this. Years later, Nixon's own domestic policy advisor, John Ehrlichman, said something in an interview that put the whole thing in context. He said, "The administration wanted to go after 2 groups, anti-war protesters and black communities. They couldn't make it illegal to be against a war or to be black. But they could tie marijuana to one and heroin to the other, criminalize both, and arrest whoever they wanted. That's not speculation. That's a direct quote from the man who helped build the policy." In 1988, the DEA's own judge, Francis Young, spent 2 years reviewing all the medical evidence and concluded that marijuana should not be classified alongside heroin. He recommended moving it off from Schedule 1. The DEA rejected his recommendation and kept it exactly where it was. Cannabis has been part of human life for 12,000 years. It's been illegal for about 90. That's less than 1%. For virtually all of history, this plant was just there. You made rope from it in the morning and burned it at a funeral in the evening. A tribe rebuilt their whole world around it and greeted each other with a word that meant hemp and life in the same breath.